That is 220 grit sandpaper on my orbital sander. I'm going to take it to these scratches. Then I'll probably end up wet sanding. Doesn't look so pretty, does it? I think I've got all these deep scratches in this area out. I think. There's a crack here. I'm going to have to live with that. I don't think I'm going to make this thing perfect, because there's other scratches all throughout. There's a little bit of overspray on it too. I was scratching off with a razor blade. I think I'm just going to stick with this and start wet sanding this area. It's going to take a while. Oh no, there's several scratches in this area too. I just don't know how deep I want to go with this thing as far as labor. Think about this for a minute. This is after sanding, wet sanding with 320, after 400, 600, 800, 1000. I'm going to go take this thing to the buffer and see what happens. I'll try to do a stripe right in the middle. I don't think 1000 is going to be enough to get it to buff out. This is using the high-speed buffer, just using the softer cloth and soft compound. And it's pretty close, but I think I need to sand, let's see what I have, 1200 or 1500? How about both 1200 and 1500? I just used this micro-fine sanding sponge on this thing. I'll go take it to the buffer again. I think that's the ticket. It's real close. I think I can get another level by using my DA buffer and use some cutting compound, and then secondly use wax with the DA buffer. I ran a little bit over here too, and there's some swirls. So I may go over this whole thing with that what is it called? Microfine, whatever, 1200, 1500 sponge, because I'm going to buff the whole thing anyway. As usual, I changed my mind a little bit. I think I'm going to sand out this area too. Go through all the steps I just went through. These scratches are fairly deep. Alright, it's off to the buffer now. I just sanded the whole thing down. I cleaned up that area. I also noticed while I was sanding away, there's a whole bunch of little hairline stress cracks in this area from this thing bending, I'm sure. So I got to be real careful on the buffer. It's the next day. This thing looks okay. There's an area right here. I think it's the first area. Maybe the second area that I sanded with the orbital sander. I can see sanding marks, so I'm going to have to touch up this area. Like I said, I'm never going to make this thing perfect, but I think I can do a little better than that. I have these areas, and I found another one over here, right here in the black where I can see the swirls. 320. $400. $600. $800. I just went over the whole thing with 600 to hopefully take out maybe some other very small scratches. So now I have to cover the whole thing with 800, 1000, and then that 1200, 1500 sanding sponge. 1000. And the sanding sponge. And that's what it looks like now. Off to the buffer. Give you a little bit of buffing action here, but I know my videos can be kind of boring. If I did this whole windscreen on video, I'd put you all to sleep. Damn it. Unfucking believable. That is aggravating. It's the next day. I had to step away from this little mini project. The restoration on the windscreen was going along pretty good, and then I failed to follow my own procedure properly. I don't think I'm going to be able to fix this. I think I was getting kind of excited to be done with this buffing process and have this thing come out all nice and clear, and rather than turn this thing this way so the wheel would be rotating and not catch on anything, I was holding it this way and it caught, and that was the end of that. It's aggravating, it's disappointing, it really sucks. This was a decent part. These things are basically unobtainium now too.